Three, two, one, and we're live.
Hi, guys. Welcome to another episode of the VillageMade podcast. My name is Valerie Haymuli, and I'm the wife of Mavel Haymuli. And today we've got a very special guest on the show. But let's pay our bills first. We're going to acknowledge our sponsors. Of course, C4 Designs. Check his website out at c4designs.com. He got the coolest and latest clothing. Our second sponsor is AV Build Utah. We are a local family owned and operated residential company that specializes in basement remodels and concrete work. We are competitive in our pricing and offer free consultations. Schedule your consultation today and mention VillageMade Podcast for a 10% overall bid discount. We are also offering a $100 referral bonus for any job we land through you. Thank you. Support local and keep building. Awesome. So today we wanted to talk a little bit about the man behind VillageMade Podcast and why he started this. Mavel and I have been married for, I think, 9 years. I lost count. And we knew each other in high school. I'm from Laie. He's from the same place, Kahuku. We're classmates. We graduated in 2005. Mavel left for school. I'll let him talk about that. And we didn't really start hanging out until after our missions. We both served in Brazil. I served in Belém up north, in the state of Pará, and Mavel served in Belo Horizonte. Mavel served from 07 to 09, and his last month in the MTC, I was just arriving into Brazil, into the MTC. And just a cool story, he wrote me a letter when I got into, he's rolling his eyes at me right now. He sent me a letter when I got into the MTC, and he was kind of just welcoming me to Brazil. And never did I ever think I'd marry the guy. But long story short, I come home from my mission and I run into his sister Melissa at a sports night at the Laie Stake Center. And she was like, "Hey, you should practice your Portuguese with my brother. I can give you his number." So she gave me his number. I hit him up. We talked and we hit it off. And that's how we fell in love. So yeah, that's our story. We're currently living in Utah. Just trying to find our purpose in life and live and accomplish or find, what our passion is. And this is one of Mavel's biggest passions. And I just want to say how proud I am of him for finding this passion and for actually doing it. Because it's a lot if you just talk about it and you don't actually, do it. And he's doing it now, and he's been doing it for a few weeks. And yeah, that's all I wanted to say. So let's hear from the main guy himself.
Oh, that was a good one. Okay.
Was that too much?
No, that was good. That shows your personality, I think. So just like my wife said, man, it's just been a journey. But I'm just kind of starting. You already know my story from my brother Sifa, and just kind of like our upbringing and also our family name, and the questions that I usually ask in the beginning about your name and your family, and also your migration story, and also what it was like being born and raised in Coco. And so we'll just fast forward a little bit, but just for me growing up in Coco, it was football was the big thing, and I was fortunate enough playing at Coco to get a scholarship to play football at New Mexico State University. And so I was, after high school, I went to college. And while I was there, I was there with 3 other guys from Coco. And so that made that transition period from, the first time leaving the island, and moving on my own. And so that transition period was fairly easy because I had other guys from Coco with me.
Who were the other guys?
So the other guys that were with me was BJ Adolfo. We had David Numatalolo and Lauli Fonoti. And so they were all guys from, back home in Hawaii. And so I also give a shout out to Max Fairclaw. He could have been an Aggie with us, but, so that was that transition period, or that going to college. and it was fun. It was a good time, and just like my wife mentioned, there were a few of us who went on a mission, and I ended up going to Brazil, and that was a good time. But yeah, just getting back from the mission, just played the rest of my years out at New Mexico State. It was fun. We always played Hawaii every year, and so that was because they were in our conference. So it was always good to see the Hawaii boys, and yeah, I just played O-line, and well, I started off, with playing football at Koku, and so it was fun. But moving on to college, that was also, almost looking at it like a job because it was 24/7, 365, and that experience was fun and it was cool. But
What was one thing that you learned from Kahuku football that helped you in New Mexico?
I think for me, the biggest thing about playing for Kahuku is just the village comes out and supports, the support of the village. And just no matter how far you go, or just because the scholarship that I got afforded me the opportunity to go play at New Mexico. Yeah, I think it's just knowing that no matter how far you go or like how, not only like, not that I was a big person, like it was big, but it was just the opportunity to leave. Yeah, I don't know, but just knowing that the village got my back.
Yes.
I think that was the biggest lesson that I got from that. Just, playing in high school, everybody came out every Friday night and supported, and just knowing that the support was still there when I went to college.
Shout out to the village.
Yep.
And what was life after college like, or what happened after? Because I know you had dreams and goals of, making it to the NFL. I know when we were dating, that was one of your main goals. Yeah. What was that like?
So I think it's funny how life, like, just the different phases of life. You think you have it figured out. Yeah. So I think maybe when I was going to when I was going to high school in Koku, that was the main dream, or that was the main driver, I guess, of a lot
of the boys, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Is trying to support yourself and your family playing in the NFL, which I always mentioned it on the podcast that it's a reality that was like fairly reachable because there was other people in front of us that that went to the NFL and that had opportunities to play. So I think that's at that point in my life, that's what drove me, was trying to figure out how to make it to the NFL. And unfortunately, things didn't work out, but you just try your best and then you move on. So at New Mexico State, I I got my college degree and I majored in hotel, restaurant, and tourism management, with the thinking and the idea that I would move back to Hawaii, and knowing that tourism is the big industry in Hawaii. And so I figured that was what I wanted to get into.
How did you feel after when you realized that NFL wasn't going to be a part of the picture? And what were you thinking, like what to do next?
I think for me, so senior year, you kind of know if you're going to make the NFL. I don't know. Maybe I'm not speaking for everyone, but for me, I kind of knew that wasn't the path that I was going to take.
Yeah.
Or that wasn't the path that was going to unfold for itself, And so it's just planning and then moving on, It's just like, it was that phase of your life and then trying to figure out what's next.
Yep.
And so for me, I thought what's next was move home, work at Turtle Bay or work at, some of the resorts back home in Hawaii. And that's as far as I saw back then, And so I think that was that transition. And so we got married and then we lived in New Mexico for a year, both you and I. And
shout out to NMSU, because our first year of marriage, We lived for free the whole time because Maville was on scholarship and it took care of us. So shout out to them.
So for you, what was living in New Mexico like? Living in Hawaii your whole life?
Um,
What was your experience there?
it was different, but it was good for me because I was so used to just living on the Aina, living with my family. I was always with my family. It was weird at first because it was just me and you, but duh, we just got married. But I loved it because I felt like it really helped us to grow and rely on each other. Like I wouldn't say our first year of marriage was the worst. You know how some people say not the worst or the hardest. Some people say the first year is the hardest, but I feel like for us it was pretty cruise. It was mean. Like it was amazing. It was the years after that that it became harder. But yeah, I loved our experience in New Mexico. I'll be grateful. I'm forever grateful because of what they did for us and you.
Right. So yeah, I guess just after thinking that I was gonna, work in Hawaii, but we got married, and then I guess we just decided we're gonna move to Utah. Do you remember why we ended up here, or it was just because?
I think we felt that Utah, I mean, we really wanted to move back home, but we had no money. We was broke. You just finished. Our parents were helping us with everything, like paying for everything. Qualify our parents, but shout out to our parents too. So grateful for them. We kind of just decided that Utah would be better for us, like more jobs, more opportunities, and
Right.
then we came. Yeah.
Yeah. So moving here, I just started working in hotels, and
How was that? Because you said that's the major that you chose, right?
Right.
So when you finally got into that, how was it?
So just moving forward, like small kind, I'm not working in hotels anymore. And so just, I ended up working in hotels for 3 years, but just working in hotels, it just wasn't what I dreamed, or what it just never satisfied me, or it just never gave me the fulfillment that I was looking for or that I wanted. Of course it paid the bills, but it just wasn't what I was looking for. And so, just like I mentioned, I worked in hotels for 3 years, and we're able to get some cool hotel benefits, working for Marriott. And so I worked for both the Marriott and the Hilton brand.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was both cool experiences to be able to get discounts on for Hilton and for Marriott. And so yeah, that's just basically it. So after those 3 years, we just decided, or I decided, to look for something that was more fulfilling, something that I felt could, or would give me, drive or more purpose. And I felt like I was just going through the motions with working in the hotels. And so, yeah, it was just a decision that was made. That.
So with you not being feeling fulfilled with that job, what did you get into next? Like what was after hotels?
So after hotels, I decided, or I went and worked with troubled kids. So I was at that point in my life, I thought working with kids, maybe going back to get more education, and trying to maybe be a counselor was what I was thinking about next. Working in the school system, or working with kids and working with youth. And so I went and worked with what is it, like a residential treatment facility.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And so just working with kids that are troubled, that have, just history of whether it's behavioral issues, or, it's not so much mental, or, but just traumas and just instability in their lives. And so I started working with them, and I worked with them for a couple years. And again, in working that job, there was part of me that was fulfilled, but it wasn't, again, like what I was looking for, or wasn't the total satisfaction, I guess, that I was looking for. And so, yeah, I just decided to, from there, move on from that as well. But yeah, I think those were the different phases of my life, moving from playing football, wanting to go into the NFL, and then thinking I was going to work in hotels or in the hospitality management. And that didn't work out as much as I wanted. And then moving on to maybe working with youth or working with kids. And then also that didn't, that didn't work out or, pan out the way that in my mind. And so those are the different phases.
Nice. Let's dig a little deeper. Let's go a little deeper. From all that work experience for those few years or however long you were doing it, how did you get to, what am I trying to say? With you not finding out that or liking to work for hotels and the youth, how did you work towards finding your passion? Or how did you get to podcasting?
So podcasting, in a roundabout way, is my way of learning. I've always enjoyed learning. And I don't know. I think honestly, I'm a nerd.
You are.
And so
But that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. Yeah.
So I don't know. It's just something about learning. I enjoy learning. And so, yeah, I think that's why, just like I said, the roundabout way of getting into podcasting was learning from other people, asking questions, trying to dig, trying to learn from them. So, yeah.
Nice. Take us back to the day that you decided I want to do a podcast, and who may have inspired you to also start this.
Yeah. So I'm just fortunate that I had my brother. So you already know Sifo does his C4 designs and his clothing. Mm-hmm. And so he kind of had this line, this brand, like VillageMade brand. And one day, I don't know, I was just talking to him and I was just like, man, I think I'm kind of interested in this podcasting thing because I've been listening to a lot of podcasts. And so all of a sudden, I think he took it upon himself to start, the VillageMade podcast. And so that's how it kind of started. It started through that. Like he made the logo for me. And so he's just kind of like, hey, this is what I thought of because you mentioned this. And so from that, I was like, okay, I guess,
we're doing
it's kind
this.
It's kind of already chosen for me. And so I'm also fortunate because my sister, so my brother does all that, the designing of my logo and he kind of pushing out the branding for me and stuff. And so my sister, who also does videography, and so
shout out to Nay.
And so she was the one that put together my videos, whenever I did the podcast. And so yeah, I just kind of fell into place for me. And so just right time, right place. And lo and behold, it was my own siblings, my sister and my brother.
I know, that's so cool that, how many people get to say, oh, my brother has this really amazing clothing company. And by the way, my sister does videography and she edits. So yeah, that's so cool. You're so lucky to have them. Yeah. So what was it like when you first started?
Oh, man. So first of all, I want to give a shout out to all the OGs of the VillageMade podcast. And I'm not going to name you one by one, but you know who you are. This VillageMade podcast, I started last June. I want to say June, July? Yeah, I don't remember. June, July. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So it was, man, I started, first one was Alpha. And I just texted him as like, hey, I got this idea. I'm going to start a podcast. You want to be in it? And so he showed up and he was like, okay. And just from day one, he already bought in and he was just like all in about it, And so he was somebody that helped push it along, But yeah, there were other people that, so man, since June or July until this past February, where I actually posted something. Mm-hmm. I've been doing podcasts since then for, I don't know, what is that, 8, 9 months? Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, Shout out to you OGs, the VillageMade podcast OGs.
Do you remember your first, or obviously you do, it was Alpha. What do you remember feeling filming your first one?
After filming the first one, I just kind of liked that idea. I kind of got addicted to, just the thought that in these interactions or in these conversations that, it's just uplifting and like I found inspiring. And I felt like because of how I was feeling, I was pretty sure that other people would feel the same. And I was just like, I don't know. And so I think it was just kind of, for me, what took so long, those 8 and 9 months that
yeah. How long was it until you first put out your first video? And why did it take so long? Sorry for cutting you off.
Oh, man. Honestly, it just took long because confidence, lack of confidence. I also think, I don't know, like growing up where we're from, you just kind of already like, you hear, like, not the haters, but you're just going to hear the comments, and so that kind of like discouraged me from doing that.
Who's this guy? What does he think he's doing?
Right.
Why is he starting one podcast? Yeah, for sure. I think one thing that when we started last year, because I was here for all of them,
right?
Because we would cook. We used to cook for all of our people that would come on. We would cook, have a meal, then me and Nay would sit there to watch the whole thing. And I just remember feeling like so inspired and uplifted and motivated from these different people's stories that they were sharing. And I was just thinking, man, that's when I really started to believe in this and you, was because I sat through it and you could just feel how amazing these people's stories are. So yeah, that's when I first started like believing in it. And
yeah, I think for me too, another thing that helped was my brother Sifo. The first episode that we came out with was his one, and so was Sifo's. So he was kind of the one that kind of pushed it along, like, okay, it's time to start posting, or it's time. And so, yeah, everything happens for a reason. And although it took 8 or 9 months for me to finally post something, but I think it all happened when it was supposed to happen. And yeah, it was just easier to start with Sifa and start with, people that I know, which was starting with Sifa and then Afa, which are basically my brothers. And just from there, moving on to George, just family. And so, yeah, I think initially the idea for this was just sharing stories that are inspiring and that uplift our, it's for our own people, for our people. And so, yeah, I think it just helps, like the people that are listening. And so just, man, the feedback that we've gotten from it just makes me wonder, like, man, why was I so like afraid or discouraged, to post in the beginning?
Do you still get discouraged at times?
Honestly, I think it's because of my personality. I don't get discouraged often or ever. What do you think?
Yeah, my husband
you know
is
me more.
So chill, like the chillest person ever. I think one thing I've learned from him is because I can be dramatic sometimes and I get mad fast. But he's just, it's the kind, like, if I were to argue with him, he's not even going to argue back. Like, he's just going to sit there and stare at me like I'm crazy, which I can be. But my point is, the biggest lesson that I've learned from my husband was one time we were arguing and it was like our 3rd, 4th year of marriage. And I was just like, why are you so chill? Like, argue back or say something. And he was just like, when you lose a loved one or a family member, there's just nothing else important in life. Like, life's too short to be angry or to be mad. So I try to be more chill now too. I have my moments, but yeah, you are so chill, very chill.
Yeah, so I think that's why being disappointed, that's probably not the right word, but maybe feeling anxiety sometimes, but not a whole lot of anxiety or stress. But yeah, I think just going back to what you're talking about with why 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 I am the way or why I feel that way. But yeah, I think just um yeah, I think losing
So
loved
I'm
ones.
curious to know, how do you manage stress?
Honestly, there's not much to
I was
manage.
gonna say you don't even get stressed out, yeah.
I don't really get stressed out. So my thinking, or in my head, let me take you through what my process of thinking
Please.
is.
Yep.
So when I was sophomore in college, sophomore? Dang, I forget. But in college, I it was yeah. So sophomore year, honestly, sophomore year, I was on a break and I came here to Utah for a little bit, and then I got a call from our head coach or some of the coaches back at New Mexico, and they said that one of my teammates passed away, and so it was just his death, and so this person wasn't just another person. It was one of the Samoan guys that had come to New Mexico State, and
Mhm.
we've grown close together. You know, the Polys, they're their own world, or like everything like we all do together. And so he was one of the boys, and so he just in California, he was in, I think I want to say Gardena, but he was at just wrong place and wrong time, and he got hit by a stray bullet, and so he passed away. And so we ended up flying out to his funeral, and um yeah, it was crazy.
So with what was just being said, that's what keeps everything in perspective for you.
Yeah, keeping that in perspective. And then like you mentioned, this was the third loss that I experienced in my life. My first might be my grandma, but she was a lot young, when I was a lot younger. But I just remember those feelings. And then when that happened my sophomore year, and then I think when did Willie Boy? And so another loss, or that I experienced, was my brother.
I think it was 2010. I remember I was on my mission,
Yeah,
like the end of the year.
right.
Yeah.
And so I guess for those of you that don't know, I have two brothers and two sisters, but we had a third brother, but he passed away. Yeah, so like I mentioned, yeah, I have two brothers and then two sisters, but one passed away. So there are three of us, three boys, and so I think for me that's just kind of how how I put life into perspective. And yeah, well, our house may be burning, or we may have our car repoed, but is it death? No. Are you gonna die? And so for me, everything goes to that extreme, and so that's why I feel like I'm such a chill person, because just due to those life experiences, I feel that that's just that puts things into perspective for me, and so that's why I don't really stress out, or I don't really find anything offensive, or find anything like that can rattle me, or I mean, there might be some things that might cause anxiety or might cause a little bit of stress, but never you know to that level or to that extent that it gets too crazy or too wild. But
Which is funny because every time I throw my tantrums, that's exactly what you say to me. Are you going to die? It's not that serious. And so, yeah, I think for me, I've never really experienced loss as much as you have. Like my grandparents have passed, but it was because they were older. But I've never really felt the pain of losing a loved one. And so maybe that's why I'm not as chill, because I take that for granted. But you experience it and felt it, and it's just so much more real for you. So, yeah.
and I think another thing I want to mention too is, for me, it hits home more for like suicide. So my brother, it was suicide, and so I think just the conversation of suicide,
Mm-hmm.
mental health issues, and just like everything that surrounds that topic
Yeah.
is, and back home in Laie too, we went through periods and times where the suicide rate was, came pretty high, and there were a few others that, that had passed away due to suicide. And so I feel like this is, yeah, maybe another platform for me to raise that awareness. And so, not only mental health but suicide. And yeah,
I know. I'm definitely glad that it's being talked about more, like it's being addressed like it needs to be. Well, thank you for sharing that. What other events that have happened in your life that also kind of gives you that same perspective?
well, I think for us, we 2015 we moved to Seattle, and so we lived in Seattle for 2 years, a
Yep.
year and a half, and so 15 to 17, I believe.
Yep.
And yeah, so it was right at the end when we moved back to Utah. That just that move alone. If you want to start us into that.
So I work for Delta Airlines, and we transferred from Salt Lake to Seattle because I got the position there in Seattle. Not like I was anything big, was just on the ramp, but we transferred, and we were there. We transferred in May, and the very next year, May of 15, in February of 2016, my husband got diagnosed with kidney failure, and it was what level again, Val?
End stage.
Oh, end stage, yeah. End stage level, and we had just gotten back from Louisiana. We went to New Orleans to celebrate his Dirty 30, and we stopped in Utah to visit his siblings, and he kind of felt shortness of breath in his lungs, and his legs were very swollen. Like when you would poke it, you would see the indent of your finger there. And so he didn't think it was anything, but me, I was like, we have to go to the doctor to see what's going on. But he didn't want to, because men they just don't want to. So we went back to Seattle, and I think it was that very same night we got there. He was trying to sleep, but he couldn't breathe again. And then I was getting more worried. And then he started coughing up blood. And I was like, Sole, get in the car right now. I'm driving you to the ER. And then, of course, I was so mad because I had to work the next morning. But then when we got into the ER, they admitted us right away. They ran all these tests. And then a few hours later, they came with the bad news that he had kidney disease, and he had to start dialysis right away. Oh, that's so cramps. He had to start dialysis right away. And I remember I was just so scared because it was just me and Mavelle in Seattle. Our parents were in Hawaii. And then our siblings were all in Utah. And I just thought I was going to be like a widow. I was so scared. Like, I was so worried for him because he had to start dialysis. And you don't think that young people have to do this. It's like older people who have diabetes or kidney failure. And so it was really scary. But I stuck by his side, and we're still here. But yeah, probably a lot of our close friends and family members know that he does dialysis, and he does it 3 times a week. But that's why I'm so proud of him, because so cramps, gotta stop crying, because he has found something that he loves, and it's just brought him so much motivation to want to do something and to live out his passion. Because I'm pretty sure this is what his passion is. But yeah, it was 2016 and it's 2020 now, so it's been 4 years, and it's been a journey because I love to eat And although we should eat better, um, that's what we have to do so that Mabel can one day get a transplant. Um, he has to lose a little bit more weight, but he's lost so much so far. But yeah, that's he does dialysis 3 times a week, and then he podcasts throughout the week as well. Um, that's what I love is seeing him excited because when he first started doing dialysis, for me, not knowing what was going on in his brain or what he was feeling, I didn't know how to comfort him, because I'm kind of old school. I'm very like, I have to work. We got to do this, like I'm like that. But he's just so chill. So I feel like for a little bit, Mavel kind of went through things personally, mentally, that he couldn't talk to me about. Um, but when he started podcasting, I just saw this light in him and this change and this glow that he really wanted to do this. And being the amazing wife that I am, I supported him because I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, do what you want, do your passion. Because I'm sure if I found mine, he'd support me too. And it was just seeing a whole different person. So that's another reason why I really, really love this podcast. And I'm grateful for his siblings supporting him because it's like he's a whole nother person. Like the Mavel I knew when we got married. But yeah.
I know you mentioned me finding my passion. What about you? Are you still in in pursuit of your passion, or are you still trying to figure that out, or have you found it?
Yes, definitely. I thought it was YouTube videos. I still think it kind of is because last year my sister-in-law just kind of was playing around recording a lot, and I would just jump in the front of the camera and I didn't care how I looked or what I said. And so they were like, you should really start YouTube. And so we started for a little bit and then we kind of stopped. But I still want to continue my like doing videos or mukbangs because I love to eat. I just was always busy working. But because of COVID-19, I've got so much more time. So I'm really going to try to do more videos. Sorry, but to answer your question, yes, I'm still trying to find my passion. I love to talk to people and I love to listen. But I don't really know what I want to do. I think I need to go back to school and figure that out. Like try different things or I don't know, start a new hobby. But yeah, I'm still looking. Do you
Yeah.
think you found yours?
Yeah. I think for me, just going back to what I was talking about earlier with the different phases in my life. At this phase in my life, with my life experiences and with who I am at this point, this is my passion. Who knows? It might change one day, or it might not change, or the more you grow, the more life you experience, it just things change, and so yeah, I think for me at this point in my life, this is my passion, and so I found something that, which to me, like podcasting isn't my passion, but hearing the stories and sharing the stories and just being uplifted by it and being motivated or being inspired by those stories is my passion, or like that's what drives me, and so being able to share them on this platform, on this level, yeah, that's why the podcasting part of it, but not the podcasting necessarily. But for me, as someone who always likes to learn and who's always, trying to read books or, trying to listen to podcasts and stuff, this is another way for me to learn and share. And so, yeah. And then it just kind of all clicked, or it just all came together. Like I mentioned before, my siblings. And then once I started sharing these stories about Polynesians for Polynesians, then it just kind of, yeah, it just resonated with me. Like, we need to be hearing more of these stories. And I feel like generationally, we're a little behind. So don't take this wrong, or don't get it wrong, but generationally we're behind Balangis. They've already had a few generations ahead of us because we can just go back a generation or two to find out who migrated from different, from the islands. And so, whereas the Palangis have been here, 4 or 5 generations. So, and then also being, creating the system, we're trying to catch up and trying to learn the system. and also, be able to adapt and play their system, or play the game that they're playing. And so for us, I think these are the stories, and these are the people that need, not that they don't have a platform, everyone does, but to share it on this platform, I think for me is what drives me, or what helps for others, not only for me to learn, but also for us to level up in this game and in this life. And I think originally that's why our grandparents, or whoever it was that migrated from the islands, that's why they ended up migrating here, is for the American dream, a better life, better situations. And so anything I could do to help other people because it's helping me is, yeah, I guess the premise of this podcast. And I think for me too, why I chose for our guests to tell the stories that they tell, the story of the name, the story of the village that raised them, and then how the first two stories help with who they are today, and that's the third story that our guests usually tell. And I chose that just because it's different, and for podcasters, this little twist in the stories that are told on Minds it resonates more with our Polynesian people. And yeah, I just think, like, for Polynesians, that's, if you understand your name, you understand your people, like even your culture, understand your heritage, and like the people that came in front of you, or like you understand who you are. I mean, understand all that. I think that will make, or that will help help you in your life journey of finding out who you are and finding your identity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, that's why I ask the questions I ask about your name and finding your identity, about the village that raised you, and as Polynesians, that resonates with us. And everybody has what we call mana, and so that's the spirit. Yeah, even the aloha spirit, and that resonates in all of us. Oh yeah.
Nice. And what would you say, or where do you see VillageMade podcast being at in about 5 years? Or what do you want for VillageMade podcasts?
Man, for VillageMade podcasts, I think for me, just this is like our base, or like the bread and butter of what I want to do. I think for me, I just want to maybe go more global, not global, but move on to a bigger scale and tell stories not only of Polynesians,
Mm-hmm.
but of other people, because everyone has their village, or like each culture has their own village. And so, as for now, VillageMade is just about the Polynesian village, the villages of Polynesia. And then maybe in a couple years or on down the line, we can move on to share the village stories of Africans, or share the village story of our
Asians,
Mexicans or
or
the
yeah.
Asians, and so just moving it to like on a bigger scale. And so, yeah, for now we're just dropping videos once a week, but the more we get into this, and the better we become, and the better I learn how to interview, or you know what I mean. And initially, it wasn't for me to interview. Like I don't know how to interview. I've never done this before, but it's just that passion that drove you, or that
Mm-hmm.
drove me. I was just like, you know what, let's just do this, and so, like I mentioned earlier too, like everything just fell into place. And so, because everything fell into place, it was just like basically being handed to me, and like, okay, I mean, it's basically chosen for you, or it's basically there for you to and then whatever you do with it. So yeah, I feel like that's kind of the direction, or where I want
Take
this to
it.
go in the next couple of years. But just, I think for now, just grateful for all the love and the support. Honestly, I was just expecting, like, I want to say like 10. When I first posted on YouTube, I was expecting like 10 views. Like, that to me was just like mind blowing. Like, 10 people actually like taking time out of their day to watch. And so,
Yeah, that's cool. I know what's so cool though is with each person that you interview, I feel like you gain more subscribers and more viewers. By the way, shout out to everyone who's subscribed already. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel. We appreciate you so much.
Yeah, another thing I want to mention too is like just going off of that, man, it's just crazy just to see the development, just to see the growth, you know. And now it's just so crazy to see the number of views on YouTube, and it's just like, man, all
Talk
you
about
guys are,
that, like each week and how you get excited.
yeah, it's just so in my mind, I'm just like 1,000 people are wasting their time watching my podcast. No, just kidding. But you know, it's just like, it's just, I don't know what the word, I want to say validating, or it's just gratifying. Like the same emotions that I feel, or like when I hear other people's stories, like, and for me to like, man, I felt that way. I'm sure others will feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see the numbers, you know, keep climbing and just keep growing is just like gratifying that other people also share in that
Interest or
in the same experience. I think
experience,
almost,
yeah.
you know, like
Mm-hmm.
the same experience or the same feelings that I got, or that what I experienced during that podcast or during that interview, other people get to share. And so, and it's just, yeah, I think that's kind of like so cool. And so
We're going to get into some questions that you posted on Instagram for anyone who had any questions for you. Your first question is from M. Allen Smith. Do your core values align with those of an entrepreneurial lifestyle? I don't even know if I said that word right.
honestly, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the entrepreneur lifestyle is, but my core values for me, I've kind of figured out like, or like have a base, you know, or have like my core values. And so just thinking about being an entrepreneur, I don't even know what that means, honestly. But I mean, as we continue to learn, I mean, and grow from, you know, this. So right now I'm just in the process. So just talking about phases and going back to phases, the beginning phase of this podcast was just to start, just to, you know, that's the like taking that big leap of faith, just taking the first step, you know. And so that was the first phase. And then as soon as I started that, and then I started continuing to drop videos or episodes every week. And then I started moving into another phase, which was kind of like the growth phase, or like trusting the process, or, you know, like the process, I guess. And so I think that's where I'm at right now, is, you know, in the middle part where I already finished, or I've already passed just get started phase.
Mm-hmm.
And then now is just to find growth, or, you know, try to see how I can get this better. And shout out to my brother. And so two of the best advice I got when I started this podcast was from him. And he told me that no matter what you've done or what you've accomplished on the podcast or what you've done, the best is yet to come. And so you just got to keep looking forward. No matter how many views you got on your last video, or, you know, the numbers keep climbing, but you just got to keep looking forward and keep creating content, and just continue to just like make your, like, push your attentions, you know, put your intentions forward into what's coming. And so the best is still yet to come. And so for all you guys, you know, still hanging out and still watching us, the best is yet to come. And so I appreciate, you know, what you guys has done so far, but for sure the best is yet to come. And then the second advice that he gave was, nobody should be thinking more about my podcast than me, or nobody should be thinking about your or your craft, or nobody should be thinking about what you're doing or what you're getting into in life than you. And so, you know, I just every day wake up and think about this kind of stuff, and think about how I can get better, or think about ways to get better. Shout out to my team also. I want to recognize, shout out my wife and then my two sisters. And they're behind the scenes, they're the loudest voice in my ear telling me things I need to work on and things I need to do better. And so because of my team, I we continue to get better, and I feel like we continue to get better. And it's just a lot of good advice. And so I think for me, it was Coach Dabo Sweeney. He was Clemson's head coach that said that you shouldn't seek advice from someone you shouldn't seek criticism from someone you wouldn't seek advice from. And so because I seek the advice of my siblings and my wife, criticism also comes with that. And so I need to also look forward to the criticism because I seek for their advice. And so it's another shout out for Dabo Sweeney for, just these little life lessons. And so.
Yes. Awesome. Okay. Our next question is from, I don't know how to say her Instagram name and I don't want to butcher it, but it's from Andy. Thank you, Andy, for your question. Do you have a morning routine, prayer, podcasts, meditation?
So my ideal situation of what happens or what I would ideally like to happen and what actually happens are two different things. And so I'm going to give you what ideally I would like to happen. No, just kidding. No, in the mornings when I wake up, there's no morning routine. I like I said before, ideally there's an ideal situation and I'm working towards that. But at this point there's no structure to my morning, and it's just get up and go and just get the job done or get the things done that needs to be done for that day. But I like that question because it's something that I've thought about, but I haven't put into practice or haven't got into yet. But
yeah, what does your morning ideal routine look like?
For me, my ideal morning would be as soon as I wake up, just start bumping my music, and then because that gets the body moving and just get the flow, the blood flowing.
Oh, gets the body moving. Okay.
And then just slowly make your way up, and then I would probably want to fold my blankets.
I would love if you did that.
Fold my blankets, and then just get the day going, say a prayer, and then probably brush my teeth, and then probably be just because of the moving. So shout out to COVID-19. None of that happens. No, just kidding. But just on that just getting the body moving. Ideally, I would want to wake up and start exercising, but the only exercise I do is walk to the kitchen and look for something to eat. But yeah, I think that's kind of the morning routine. Just for me at least, just get that done, and then once I'm done with exercising, then shower, and then just whatever, then start the whatever else I gotta do throughout the day, I guess.
Nice. Awesome. That question was from Andy Zaneo, I think is her name. Next question. So we have _aloha.rena14. She asked a few questions, but we've answered some of them earlier. One of her questions that I'm going to ask you is any advice, or from her, any advice you could give to those in the village looking for their passion?
Man.
That's a really good question.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. For me, just I talk about life cycles, or how it just was life cycles or cycle. I think for me, it's just at that point whatever point you are in life, just do stuff that you think you want to do, or just through the process of elimination, you're going to know what you don't want to do. And so for in my example, I thought I wanted to work in the hotel industry. I did that for a couple of years, and no, that's not what I want to do. So through the process of elimination, I moved on to the next thing. And then that was working with kids. And so although I got some fulfillment, I didn't get full fulfillment. And so just working with kids was checked off and be nah, that's not what I want to do. And so eventually it just came to podcasting. And so I feel like through the process of elimination and just doing something about it, you can't just sit around at home and just not do anything and be like, I wonder what I'm going to do. And then not do anything. And eventually time passes and you haven't done anything. So I think that's just it for me, is just, that happened to me. And that's kind of how I came across how I came across podcasting. And it was just through the process of elimination and doing jobs that I thought I wanted to do. And then in the end, it really wasn't. So until I found this.
I like that because that's me trying to find my passion, but I'm like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. I want to find out, but keep Netflixing and doing waste time stuff where you cannot find one passion. I mean, I love to Netflix, and if I could get paid to do that, that would be my passion. But obviously, that's not going to happen. So yeah, really good advice. Our next question and final question is from Sione underscore Doe 88. What pushed you to thrive in the field you're in?
Man, I guess just in the advice that Sifa gave me, my brother is like, nobody should be thinking more about your podcast than you. And so that's kind of what drives me, to thrive and just continue to putting out content that the best is still yet to come. So those two advices, I think. And yeah, I mean, for me, I think just getting started, like I talked about, the first phase of my podcast was just getting started. I kind of look back at some of my first interviews or, the first episodes, and honestly, I kind of cringe because I was like, dang, what is he thinking? What is he doing? And so, but just from the first episode until now, you just see the growth, and I hope you see the growth. At least I feel it. But yeah, I think for me, it's
comment down below if you see the growth.
Yeah, it's just kind of looking back on some of the older episodes, and I just kind of cringe and just kind of like, oh, but it's just the process of getting better and just taking it serious. And I think just, anyone can look at this. I'm sure Sifo can go back and look at his old drawings, when he first started, or people who, maybe even Lala with his first tattoos, or just the people that are around me, or even Alpha with his first home build, or, you know what I mean? Like, from what they've started until now, I'm sure, I'm not speaking for them, but, at least for me, that's kind of what I've seen and what I see. And so I think that's what allows me, or that's what drives me and keeps me going, keeps me motivated.
Perfect. So thank you to all of those that sent in those questions. We appreciate you taking the time to write them down on Instagram. Thank you very much. Now we're going to do some rapid fire questions just to get to know Mavell a little bit more. Yeah, so you do this, you know how it works. What takes up too much of your time?
Thinking about this podcasting, how I can get better, or how I can improve, and how I can push out more content or better content.
Nice. What do you wish you knew more about?
The business of business.
Yeah, business is hard.
Yeah, and just kind of wanting to turn this into a business, maybe, or I don't know, just trying to figure out, what to do next with this. And so, yeah.
Awesome. What inspires you? Or
the
who?
Stories
Not
that are
kidding.
told. The stories that are told by the people that tell them.
Nice.
They inspire me, and so just allowing them to share their own stories, and for me to do the least interference while they're sharing their stories. And yeah, so not only I can be inspired by them, but those who are watching and listening.
Awesome. What are some things that you had to unlearn?
I think that although I have a college education, I think education and learning are two separate things. And so I had to unlearn that college education is the only way to go, which isn't a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not, there is still value in getting a college education, But I feel like, to me, in my opinion, the way the world's going, maybe the value of a college education is not as high as it was once was, and so you can do things, on your own, or you can figure out ways to make money because the internet is out there, and the internet is available to everyone and anyone to make money, to not only make money but to start a business, to find information, to pass on information. And so that's one thing I am unlearning. But there is still time and a place, or there is still a value in education. But for me, I enjoy learning, and whether it's from podcasting, it's from interviews, or it's from books, or it's from stories. It's just I just find learning to be entertaining, or to fill my mind.
Nice. What's your favorite book?
Paulo Coelho.
Brazilian?
Yeah, he's the Brazilian, but he wrote the book, The Alchemist. Sorry.
Oh, nice. My friend was just talking about that the other day. If you could spend the day with someone dead or alive, who would it be?
Earlier I mentioned the 3 people that passed away in my life, and so it would be my brother, Willie Boy, and then it'd be Shauna, Leo Pepe, and then my grandma. I think between those 3, I think it'll be a good time.
What is special about the place you grew up?
Man, the village. Everything is just the support. Just so when Lewis was on here and I asked him, just what it means to be a lawyer boy, to me, and then his answer to me is it's just something that you don't understand, or that people don't understand. And if you're not from Laie, or if you're not from our area, when I say Laie, it means like Koku, Laie, Hola, our side of the
whole
island. Yeah.
North Shore. Yep.
And so if you're not from Laie, you just don't understand. So thanks, Lewis, for that.
Yeah, shout out to the village. Thank you so much for everything you've done for us. What have you only recently formed an opinion about?
I've only recently formed an opinion about the governor of Hawaii, and that period. Leave it at that.
Leave it at that. Okay. What's the luckiest thing that has happened to you?
Man, I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I already know.
Well, then that's the answer. Yeah, I think just going to Brazil on our missions, and then being married. Yeah, it is definitely getting married to you, Val.
Thank you, Val. So good to hear it. What song will guarantee to make you dance?
Oh, still Dre. Dr. Dre.
Oh, okay. Which song?
Still Dre.
Oh, that's the name of the song. Obviously, okay, my bad. Nice. What are you most looking forward to? Well, I guess you answered that earlier. Do you want to answer it again, or we can skip? What are you most looking forward to in the next 10 years? Okay. What could you give a 40-minute presentation on with absolutely no preparation?
Just starting. Anything. Your passion, or whether it's your passion or a job, or life, just the getting started part, and not worrying about what other people think, or what the outcome from posting, or and so just from my own experience, it took me 8-9 months to post something, and so just taking that first initial step, the leap of faith.
Nice. What hobby would you get into if time and money weren't an issue?
Traveling, but I think traveling and just being able to stay somewhere for months, on like periods of time, just to learn culture, and not just as a tourist. Like, you get the tourist side of, when you go somewhere for a week or two, but just being able to travel somewhere and being able to live there, and then like learning the culture from, the people. So yeah.
Yes, I would love to travel more. When people come to you for help, what do they usually want help with?
We're still figuring that out. I really don't have anything to offer. But
You started this. They're
know,
wanting to sometimes get their stuff out.
yeah, I mean, I guess, people have come to ask about
Well,
podcasting
before it
stuff,
was
I guess.
discount at the Marriott for hotel
Before it was,
rooms.
it was discounts. And so, yeah, I think right now, podcasting things.
Nice. What is something you think everyone should do at least once in their lives?
Who was it? I don't remember, but I think it was one of the OGs when they were on the podcast before, to live in Laie, to live where we're from for like an extended period of time, and so they can feel the same things and experience the same things that we've experienced and gone through growing up, and just to know what it is and know how it is.
It really is such a special place. I'm so grateful for our community and love everything that I learned there and grew up with. There's just no explanation. You just got to go there and try it.
Yep, exactly.
What helps you, or which of your scars has the best story behind it?
My left calf, I have a few stitches there, but it was because we're doing it's like the We Are Samoa, but the Tongan, I forgot what it was called, but we were doing that that cultural thing, and then when we were at PCC, I had a plastic bag with my mom's lace in it, and she had a scissors in it, and so what she did was she left the scissors in the plastic bag, and I started swinging the plastic bag, like walking away, and then the scissors poked out of the plastic bag, and then it just cut my left calf, and that was kind of like how I ended up having to leave to go to the emergency room to get it stitched up, and then I wasn't part of the dancing. So
I remember that.
Pacific,
Yeah,
Siweli or
the
Pacific,
Tongan
I think
Association
was the
did
name.
it. Yeah,
And it
yeah.
was at PCC, and so
I think I danced in that one. What? That's cool. I didn't know that story, unless you told me and I just never listened. What helps you live in the moment?
putting my phone down.
Good answer. If you could give back to your village, what would you do?
Man, I think for me, I would go back to the village and take care of our OGs, take care of the people who are, old, maybe the widows and the older people, the older generation. The younger generation, they already have, enough help, or they have people around them to support them. But I feel like our OGs need to be taken better care of. And so I'll probably start maybe like an activity once a month with them. They just provide food for them, and they can come and just play music and dance and just do stuff for them to show appreciation for them. Yeah, I think just showing appreciation for what they've done, and just how much they've helped push us along. When they say that we stand on the shoulder of giants, and so they're the giants that we are standing on, and so just show them a little more appreciation, I guess.
Yes, I love that. Shout out to all the OGs back home. Okay, so this is a very special week because Mother's Day is coming up. And we here at VillageMade Podcast just want to send a special shout out to all the mothers out there. Happy Mother's Day. I hope you guys enjoy your day. And I hope you guys get spoiled every day because you guys deserve it. And I just wanted to highlight a little bit about Mavel's mom, Lomaile Heimuli. Shout out to her for being the best mother-in-law ever. I'm just going to ask you a few questions. What's the thing you admire most about your mom?
Her quiet confidence. She, you know her, she doesn't speak much, or she doesn't talk a lot, or not that she doesn't talk a lot, but she just never raises her voice, or she just never is like loud, or just kind of like all up in your face, or when she gets mad, she doesn't like it. It rarely shows, and so just because she's quiet doesn't mean she's weak, and so just that confidence from yeah, just from her, like that quiet confidence. And so that, I think, to me speaks louder than if it was a giant, or you know what I mean? Just that,
Hmm.
yeah.
And she's so chill. I feel like a lot of you guys get your chill side from her because she's so easygoing, kind of kind of like you, no stress. I mean, if she is, she doesn't tell us, but I just never ever got that vibe from her. Um, what is one thing that you've learned from her that you've always kept with you throughout life?
Hard work. I know a lot of people say their dads work hard, but my mom, love your dad, but mom works harder than that. Yeah. So I remember growing up coming up in elementary and in high school. So my mom would work overnights at Bobby Benson, and then in the morning she would go to Coco Elementary and work there as an aide or a teacher. I don't know, teacher's aide or something. And so she would work that until like noon or 11, and then come home and sleep until like 2 when we got off work, when we got off of school. And by the time we got home from school, she was up again to be with us. And so because my dad worked in the during the days, and so yeah, I'm sure that was kind of rough for her, just not getting enough sleep. And so just knowing how much she put in, and just always her wanting to take care of us. But although it hurt her because she didn't sleep enough, she always wanted to spend that time or just do whatever it was needed. Yeah.
Yeah, and she still kind of works two jobs today too because she does her main job and then she does her lay business on the
Her
side.
side
She's
hustle.
always working. Yeah, she's a
Yeah.
hustler. I love that about her. Doesn't wait for money to come in. She goes out there and makes her money.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. What is one thing you'd like your mom to know? Or what's one thing you'd want to tell her?
Um, that I'm watching, or that I see her. Maybe sometimes the things that she does may go unnoticed, but that it's appreciated, and that we do notice and we do recognize, although it's not always um like shown, or shown affection, or just in words actually. But yeah, that we're watching, and we admire you, and you inspire us because of your hustle.
Nice. And another thing I admire about my mother in law, so she got diagnosed with breast cancer and she fought it and won. But not once ever during her experience of going through chemo and all of that did I ever hear her complain. One thing that was cool about my mother in law, well, not that it was cool that she went through that, but each of my husband and his siblings took turns going back home to Hawaii to take care of her throughout her different treatments. Um, how was that, Vel? How was going home to see your mom in that stage?
Man, for me, it was so. First of all, it was easier for us because we have flight benefits, and so we went home more often. Whereas for my siblings, they don't have flight benefits, so they had to pay full price. And so, um, just just being able to go back home, I just fed off of her. Like to me, it was just easy. Like because she was, so energized, and she was so happy, and she never like you said, she never once shown like hate, or like why me, or just any of those feelings. And so that's why for me it was easy, because I fed off of her. And then I was going home to be strong for her, but I ended up being the one that got stronger because of her. And so I think that was my experience when I went home. And so it was, yeah, it was so cool to see her fight, and see her able to overcome it, and then just, yeah, and then just carry on like life never happened. And she went back to work within, what I mean, couple months. And I was like, man, I thought that was so cool that she could have, stayed home from work for a little longer, but she just is, I guess, just a busybody, and just her hustle, man. I think that's basically what it came down to.
Another thing that's special about this story, my mother-in-law's story, is that her mom had breast cancer, her sister had it, they both passed away, and her aunties have it. So it runs in the family. However, when my mother-in-law first found out about it, she already kind of knew that she was going to beat it, like had that confidence, no fear, the faith, that she was going to make it through. And she did it. Another cool thing too is my father-in-law, when he found out, shout out to Fe'al G, man. My father-in-law's the best too. He's so cool. He started going to the temple every Saturday, and dedicated his time towards that and his faith, for his wife. Yeah, we're LDS, if you don't know. We're members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and he would go to the temple, and he still does. Well, not right now because of COVID, but when the temple was open, he went every Saturday, and every time we would go home and we were there on the weekend, it was so cool to see him wake up early Saturday morning and go on his own so that he could, pray and have faith and courage and comfort and be an example to us, his kids. So yeah, it was a very cool experience going through that. And I feel like all of my mother-in-law's kids kind of have a special talent from her. Like, I think, by the way, we never even introduced all of them. There's 5 of them. Mavel, Sifa, Nay, Melissa, Peter, and then Willie Boy passed. But I feel like Melissa, Peter, and Sifa have my mother-in-law's creativity and what's it called? They're very good with their hands. Like Sifa can draw good. He can, put stuff together. Peter can sew. And that's another thing. My mother-in-law sews and she does lays. So Peter can sew like my mother-in-law. And then Melissa is good with creativity and making lays as well. I feel like Mavel and Nay have, from her, they've gained just the more chill personality, the quiet confidence. So all of her kids have a little bit of her in them, which is very beautiful to see too. So yeah.
I think just another thing I wanted to add is when I was home, and I don't know, it was just a random day, and then my mom was like, my mom and my sister, they both passed away at, I forgot what the age that they passed away. And so my mom was just saying that if she passed away from this, that she at least lived longer than her siblings or her mom and her sister. And so it was kind of like, wait, what? But I think that's just where I get my chillness from too. Like, you just put things into perspective. And so for her, dying wasn't the worst thing. It was like, oh, at least I got to live, I forgot the amount of years more than her siblings, and so, or her sibling and her sister and her mom. And so, for me to put into perspective, life, like, well, it's not that bad, and so that's just one thing that I feel like that's where I got it from, was getting it from her. And so,
yep, you and Nay are very chill. I think you guys both get it from her.
And I think, yeah,
soft-spoken, kind-hearted.
And we're the smarter one. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, don't put that on. We already know what it started on IG in the Sibs chat. Shout out to Lomaile and Fe'al Heimuli, parents of Mavel and C4 Designs and Nay. I also wanted to shout out my mom, who's currently here with us in Utah. I've been having so much fun having her here. I just want to thank her for her example and just being the life of the party. Everyone who knows my mom knows she's crazy, but she's crazy fun. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. Happy Mother's Day to my beautiful sisters-in-law, Sifa's wife, Puane Heimuli, and then I have my other brother's wives, Anthony's wife, Ferne Si'ilata, and then my brother Skeev's wife, Kylie Si'ilata. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below and let us know. Just let us know how you're doing, or comment what we can work on. But yeah, thank you for tuning in.
And let me just throw this in. If you'd like to see Val as a co-host on this podcast, go ahead and leave it in the comments below. Because I feel like her personality complements mine, because I feel like I'm so dry. But go ahead and leave that in the comments below too.
Yay.